Welcome to the garden. We have just the most stunning day. It feels like fall, which is kind of amazing. The humidity is low, the sun is out, there's not a cloud in the sky. It's just gorgeous. And I wanted to bring you out here to update you. I'm sorry if you can hear they're doing a little bit of building or something down the road. It's part of urban gardening, I guess. We've always got something going on, but we are prepping the beds, or I should say I did prep the beds, a couple of the beds for some fall planting. So I wanted to show you what those look like and what I have done so far to get them ready. Now, I am so glad that I did not plant any seedlings yet, because I just looked at our forecast coming up, and we are gonna have a couple days next week in like the high 90s, heat advisory type of temperatures. And this is what you have to watch this time of year. Today is September 1st, actually, when I'm filming this. So we're right at the start, just about ready to be ready to like the fall season and just getting into it. But like I said in the last video, you kind of want to wait sometimes to like those second, third week in September for me, because it can still be a little bit hot. And I'm so glad that I didn't plant like any lettuce or anything in these beds, because we're gonna have like 96, 97 degrees Fahrenheit here next week, and that would be pretty hot and might even impact the germination of something like a lettuce or a kale. But I'll show you what the beds are looking like. Okay, I started to just get it ready. Of course, we've got all the containers. I actually moved this avocado plant over here because it looks kind of pretty, I think, in this area. And then I was a little bit ruthless. It was a hard decision. It's so hard to do, but I actually pulled out some of the gomphrena along here. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute, because I do have some plans for that. But I pulled out the gomphrena. The New Zealand spinach that I tried to plant in this area never really sprouted. So I don't know what happened with that, but I took that, that never grew. There was nothing, there was just a hole there. So I left that hole, and then I took out the cucumbers that were here, and it had been so jam-packed in this area that I actually hadn't even been able to get in and like harvest the cucumbers. Kind of a note to self, it wasn't the best cucumber area. I did leave the millet because I think that'll be a great like foraging plant. Maybe I'll leave it for a little while. It looks very fall. And then over here, we'll go over to the other side. Look at how fun the jigsaw peppers are looking. They're covered. I did the same thing where I pulled out, I had some green beans started. And basically what I did is I just pulled out the plants, and then I roughed up the soil a little bit because it was pretty compacted. There are still some roots in here, but I'm honestly not super worried about like these kind of root systems, because they'll decompose and just feed the soil some more. But I left my basil, which I should come out here and harvest some of this because it's actually doing really well. This is a good bed for basil. It gets like part sun over here. Got a part sun. The cicadas are so loud this time of year. And there's a plane. All right, so if you've got a part sun area, basil is a good food plant that you can grow in kind of a part sun situation. They don't like the super intense heat, and they're actually less likely, like these haven't even started to think about flowering, which is kind of nice because I think they're just a little cooler in this spot. So I left the basil, and then I also left a few of my Swiss chard plants, because for me, Swiss chard is another one that will overwinter. It will grow beautifully all through the winter, and I'll be able to enjoy it all through the winter. So I did go ahead and just leave the Swiss chard. So a few Swiss chard plants. This is the Ford Hook Giant, and I'm hoping, I kind of cleaned them up and gave them some space. So I'm hoping now they will, there's a weed right here. I just noticed, get that out of here. But I'm hoping that they'll just kind of continue to grow and flourish, and they get really big and beautiful if they take off over the winter. And then we've got our basils. So then I put down, these are these wire cloches that I have. I get them from Gardener Supply. Very important for me in order to keep out the squirrels. If I don't have a physical barrier, I end up getting squirrels digging up all of my garden. So my plan is that underneath the cloches, I'll do like some circles of different greens, maybe some kales, maybe like a lettuce or something. And then in this area, I'm gonna plant violas around the circles of greens, and then all of the other starts that I have, some pak choi and some collard greens and some different things like that, I will plant those. Oh, there's hummingbirds fighting above me. Hummingbirds have been all over the garden. So all the starts that you saw me start, I'll link that video where I started some fall seeds. I'm going to put those into either the other raised beds or into containers, and that's how I'm gonna do that layout, and I think that'll work really well. So I prepped these beds a bit, and then I'm gonna come back in. I'm gonna wait till after we hit that big heat heat system coming through, and then once the heat dies down, it looks like my monthly forecast, which I start kind of watching that monthly forecast a little bit more carefully when I'm thinking about planting. The monthly forecast looks to go back to maybe highs like low 80s Fahrenheit, and so then I will plant in the kales and the lettuces, and that will be just fine. I haven't decided quite yet on when I'm gonna take out the other things in these other raised beds. So in this back raised bed, I've actually got some tomatoes. There's milkweed and a foxglove, so we're gonna leave those. This area, actually, I have a hole, so I may go ahead and clean out some of the stuff in this back corner and plant in a few of those starts. We'll see how that goes. We've got the Mexican sunflower. Oh, I gotta show you this. It started blooming its first bloom. This is so pretty. I absolutely love Mexican sunflowers. One of my favorite plants ever, and it's gonna get super tall and gorgeous, and I can't wait. So that one is gonna just kind of grow up and continue to be a tree of flowers, and it'll provide some shade too, which I'm not worried about in the fall garden as much. It'll be fine. It's not like it's gonna block out anything. It's just one of them right there, so that'll be good. And then this bed right in front of me, I'm gonna have to make some hard decisions. The zinnias, which are just beautiful. These are gonna cruise right along and look gorgeous all the way till frost if I let them. Although sometimes they start to get a little bit diseased. So sometimes I do have to pull my zinnias out a bit earlier. It depends a little bit. Right now they're looking really good, but they can get kind of covered in powdery mildew. So if that happens, then I will have to pull them before frost. And then I have to figure out what I want to do about the peppers. It looks to me like the peppers are really continuing to flower and set fruit. So I can leave them for a little longer, and there's a bunch of peppers in here that I can harvest. I can leave them for a little longer and let them go if I want. And there's eggplants too, doing the same thing. Although these eggplants are just like covered in ants, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with them. So I actually may pull those a little sooner just because the ants are so crazy. And with the peppers and kind of like same thing with the tomatoes, you get to a certain point in the season where there's only so much time left before the frost is going to take them out, and you have to kind of calculate, like, are they actually going to have time to ripen the fruit? Even if they're still setting fruit and they're still flowering, are they going to have time to ripen it? I think I have time to get some more pepper harvest. I don't think I'm ready to pull out those peppers, and I can actually underplant pretty well under peppers. Especially if I end up clearing out any of the zinnias, if they start getting diseased, over the next couple weeks or so. I have planted like kale and stuff under peppers and had really, really good luck with it. So the peppers, I don't expect any diseases, and I'll just kind of go as long as I can until I feel like, there's not gonna be time for them to ripen their fruit, and then I'll just cut them off at the base. I probably will underplant them. The eggplants, as I said, I could probably pull them out now. I'm just gonna leave them for a few more weeks because I know I don't want to do any planting till after next week, and I'll make some more decisions. And same with the tomatoes. They are still pumping out tomatoes. I think I have another good month. I'll probably wait till October to like top them because I have till about the end of October before we get our first frost. It becomes this like guessing game, and then sometimes you end up just making really hard choices, like pulling out the gomphrena, which was so hard to do. It kind of was devastating, but I went to sort of move one, and then I just ended up ripping off a branch, and I went, you know what, fine. And I'm glad I got the bed cleared out and we're ready to go, and that's just one big step. what I am going to do with the gomphrena right now is I am going to pull off some of the flowers and actually try to dry them for one of my fall wreaths. I had took a little footage the other day. I was doing a little bit of a DIY project working on one of my mirrors, which I'm still not done with, but I think I'll put in some of that footage now, and then we'll check back in and talk about the gomphrena. All right, see you in a second. All right, so I'm inside right now doing a few projects, hopefully going to get out to the garden this evening. I may even try this afternoon, we'll see, because I really want to start prepping fall beds. Right now I am playing around with a little rub and buff on this white mirror, which, as you can see, I did some like DIY painting it white, and it never really looked perfect in the white color. So I'm trying to get this rub and buff on over top, but honestly, it's kind of hard to coat over the white paint. So doing the best I can, but a little indoor DIY. And I know you guys come here for gardening, but I like to do a few little projects inside. I did not realize either how tiny these tubes of rub and buff are. I will show you the finished project when I got it done and I got it up on the wall. I have a little like grapevine wreath that I always hang over this mirror, and I'm gonna try to figure out if I can find some pieces from the garden, like maybe some of the gomphrena, and dry that and add it to the wreath, just to sort of, I mean, the gomphrena is kind of summery, honestly, because it's very pink, so it looks a little summery, but I think the dried flowers might be pretty, and I think adding them to the wreath over this mirror, now that I've got it with the gold tint, might be kind of a fun look. So I will show you how to dry gomphrena. If you have it, it's one of the easiest plants that you can make into a dry flower, even if you weren't intending necessarily to have like to do dry flowers. I did order a bunch of straw flowers for next year's garden. One, just because I really love straw flowers. So I ordered just a mix, a tall and a dwarf mix of all kind of colors of straw flowers, but you can get them broken down by color. I know Johnny Seeds, I think maybe Baker Creek, they have some of them, like you can get the black ones separated out, or the pinks, apricots. There's a lot of really pretty colors, and they're a great dried flower too. But the gomphrena also, if you've got some in your garden, that's a great one. That works so well for dried flowers. So we're gonna try putting some gomphrena into the wreath that goes over this mirror and see if we can make it look kind of fall and fun and different. Right now, here we are in the process. This is what it was. Don't mind the applesauce. It was this white that I painted with, honestly, like a very high gloss white paint, and that did not look good, and I tried to like antique it. Anyways, I didn't love the look of that. So now we're doing the gold, which I think is gonna look better. And I just need to come in because there's still some white showing underneath, so I'm gonna have to work on this a little bit, but I will check back in with you as this project continues. All right, so I finished one layer. I still need to clean the glass and stuff, but I finished one layer of the rub and buff on this, and as you can see, the white is still kind of showing through. So I think I'm actually gonna do is just get another color, like a different tone of the rub and buff, and put that over top and fill in all the little like white spaces that are left. And then that way it'll also look a little bit more antiqued. But right now I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go outside and grab the gomphrena, and then we'll work on the wreath that's gonna go on this. Here's the gomphrena. I just kind of gathered it, and it looks a little bit wilty, so I need to cut this off. Gomphrena is a great dried flower, and I just need to let it hang. I'm gonna tie it all together in a bundle. Got a little bit of twine up here. Tie it all together in a bundle and just let it hang and let it dry like this, and then you can take it off, or you can just cut it even in like little pieces itself, and you can dry it, and it will do so beautifully in different arrangements, or like I want to put some of it in one of my wreaths. So I think I'm gonna cut off some of these now, and then I'll get them ready to dry. This is kind of like not the prettiest corner of the garden right now, and everything is looking a little messy because the crepe myrtle tree up above is just dumping things. But so what I'm gonna do is just take these, let's see, and I'm just gonna take like the little stems and make some little bundles. I have the wreath that I was talking about that has it has space to add these because it's just like one of those grapevine wreaths. So I should be able to tuck some little bundles of gomphrena in them. And gomphrena is just a good one too. Like I have a couple little vases in different spaces of my house, and it's the perfect little dried flower to just stick like in a little bud vase. You know, you always end up getting those little vases and containers, and it's like just the perfect thing for those. So I'm not going to worry about the big stems because I'm not going to have any large arrangements. It was so hard to pull this out. Oh my gosh. So I'm just going to come in here and keep trimming off all of the flowers that I can, and then I'll check back in with you. Okay, so now we have these little bundles. Some of these I think are younger than other ones, and they're a little bit like a little droopy, which if you get the really like, I don't know, fully mature flower, it does a little bit better as a dried flower. But since I just like fully took apart the whole plants, I'm gonna see if I can make these little droopy ones dry anyways. So we're just gonna put them in some little bundles. I think 3 will be perfect, and then I'll see if I can add them to our wreath. I am loving the look of the gold that I added to the mirror, but I do definitely need to come back in with another little layer of some of the gold, because it just needs to fill in the texture a little bit. But I think having the wreath having some dried flowers in it will be really sweet too. And even though the pink is a little bit summery, the nice thing about gomphrena is that this is the truffle pink gomphrena, is that it has like these little yellow tips, and so it sort of does have like that kind of like rustic sort of fall look a little bit too. It's not totally bright summer pink. And I'm just gonna tie these with the little bows, because I think if that shows, a little bow of twine is also kind of rustic and sweet. So there we go. I'll probably let them dry. Well, I don't know. I think they can dry fine. So I think that shouldn't be an issue. We'll go see if we can attach it to the wreath, and then whenever I get around to ordering some more rub and buff, I will let you know how that works, adding on to the mirror and finishing out my DIY. I definitely feel like I do a little bit better with my garden DIY projects than with my indoor DIY projects, but I am working on it. I am trying to practice those skills and hone those skills too. So I thought it was just kind of fun to share a little bit of those home things now and then, in case you're like me and you like the garden, but you also like to do some things around the house. So I think this is all I need to do today. I'm gonna sweep up, story of my life, but especially as we get into fall, the sweeping becomes a constant thing. I'm gonna sweep up, I'm gonna, tidy a little bit out here. I do really love the mums that we got and some of the fall things. I don't want to rush it, but I also just want to like slowly get ready. And I think if you're feeling overwhelmed at the end of the garden season, if you're kind of feeling like, I don't know, really a fall garden, and you're kind of like not quite sure if that's what you want to do, maybe just try to do like just a little bit. I keep saying, like, you know, it's okay to just do like one container of fall greens, or just slowly, you know, you don't have to go out on one day and take out all the beds and prepare all the beds, and you don't have to prepare the beds all in one day and plant them in the one day. Having kids has really made me learn like gardening in those little increments. Even 10 or 15 minutes makes a huge difference. You know, it didn't take me that long to clear out the beds, maybe a half hour. That's all I did yesterday, and that was fine. And so you just do it in little increments and bite-sized pieces, and eventually you can get the garden done. And it doesn't mean to always leave it perfect. This is what it looks like at my feet right now. You know, I need to pick up, this is my daughter's spray bottle, this is the tray from the violas, so I need to rinse that out today. And here's some more trash and a couple containers that I need to deal with. I am getting ready to plant some arugula. I think is going to be one of my first greens. I love arugula, so I want to got out some of these low containers so I can do a couple nice low containers of arugula, but I've just got that sitting here until we're ready. Lest you think that everything, you probably are like, I didn't think everything looked perfect out there. I know you guys have seen my garden, but lest you think it all looks perfect, it does not. We've got a lot of cleaning up to do too, but of course it's nice because I can just show you the pretty part. Okay, well, I'm just gonna tidy. I feel so good about these beds. It is nice to have a little bit of room to see. There's something really wonderful as you start cleaning out the summer garden and your garden starts to look a little more orderly and tidy. It is kind of nice, and it's kind of really refreshing. So I do always like that. And now those beds are just ready. Last thing I may do to get them fully ready, and I'm not quite sure yet, is top dress the soil with either a little bit of compost or even maybe just like a little bit of potting soil, because I do feel like the soil in those raised beds right now is pretty compacted with roots, but I'll share that with you more once I actually get to planting those beds. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.